Associate Vice Chancellor for Finance, and I'm the chair of the Finance Stakeholder Committee. In case, and probably all of you have been to at least one of these or one of the meetings that we talked about the project. So, but I do want to introduce myself, and I want to welcome all of you. We appreciate you being here. We know that you have busy schedules, you have a lot of things going on, but given the turnout for these meetings as well as the town hall meeting that we had a few weeks ago, it's clear that the message is getting out that the project is coming, the Connect Carolina Finance project is going to be is on schedule, and it's going to be it'll be here sooner than you think. I had a wonderful prize. Free tickets to both the Duke Carolina basketball games next year that I was going to hand out based on you knowing how many days there were till the project was actually going to be up and running on July 1st, 2013. But since it's already in here, I can't give those out. I'm sorry. My job is to welcome you and thank you for being here. A couple of things that I did want to go over. I think since the last meeting that we were together, we actually settled on a date, and if we haven't really talked about it here, we did try to send it out to everyone via email. But we now have a go-live date for the finance project. It's February. 5 minutes. Got to get through another 4 minutes. It's July 1st, 2013, and we'll follow that up hopefully by October with the HR project. They're not done with the fit gap analysis yet, so they haven't made the presentation to the sponsors yet. And once they do, then a schedule will be set for them also. But right now, what we're shooting for is July 1st, 2013 for finance, and then 3 months later for HR payroll. The other thing that I want to mention is that the handout that you have, I think, is a very helpful guide and a helpful tool for you to take back with you to your office and to share with others. I believe it's also available out on...
It will be on SharePoint.
Out on SharePoint after the meeting, so you can also get a copy from there. But it is very helpful, and it does keep track of how many days we have to go. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you can ask questions. Please feel free to ask questions, not me, but everybody else. You can ask questions all throughout the presentations this morning, and then we have that special question and answer session that if you'd like to stay after the main meeting is over with, there's the opportunity for you to talk to the project team about any of the issues that you may be having, questions that you might have, and anything else that you want to talk to them about as far as the project goes. They will be available. We hope that time can be used for you to maybe dig into a particular issue that you're dealing with within your organization. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Robert Vickery, also known as the Bucket Man. He doesn't like that, and he wants to get away from that, but you just can't help it. He's done a great job with his presentation. Of course, he's got that little nickname because of his bucket presentation. So here's Robert.
Thank you very much. We on? Yes. Good morning, everyone. I want to, first of all, have everyone who is an MOU financial lead and is present today, please go ahead, stand up. And their direct staff who have helped on the matching table. I want everybody to look at these people and say their hands. Whereas the project team developed the structure of the accounting system, it's the MOU financial leads that are actually designing the accounting system that we'll be using in the future by setting the values, how the values are interpreted, how they relate to one another. They are actually creating the new accounting system. That's been an awful lot of hard work, a lot of time spent, and we certainly appreciate it. That's the good news. The bad news is I accidentally deleted all the files. So you'll have to put it all over again. But anyway, what we found out, we just looked at all of our MOU visitations on Chartfield advisement, and what we found out is that many of the MOU financial leasing and staff are completely redesigning the accounting system. There are so many changes that the original mapping exercise that I gave you is really not sufficiently robust to record all the changes that have been done. So we have to come up with a new strategy. And basically what I've done, and I'm starting, it's going to take me several weeks to get through the original mapping, is to take your mapping and incorporate it into a new data dump, and then add more information to it based on what people have asked for. People have asked for information based on the general ledger, the description. They've asked for budgets and dollar volume on particular accounts and things like that. So I take your original table, I put it into the new one, put your decisions into the new data dump. I add some other things which we'll go through here, and want to point out that I'll take your spreadsheet, I will incorporate it into the new one, I will update your decisions into the new data, okay? And I will be doing that individually with you, one at a time. I will tell you when it's ready, and then I'll update it and give it to you so that you can then keep it up to date. The idea is that you will simply keep it up to date at that point until the consultant needs to get the configuration done. So if you can go to the next slide. As you can see here, this is what you've been working on. This is pharmacy. This is one of the ones I've completed. This is how they returned their original mapping table to me. I take this and I put it into the new, it becomes a tab. This is the original one. Okay. It becomes a tab in this new strategy for keeping things together. One of those tabs will be instructions that will give you very detailed instructions about what you need to do with this current file. It has your decision that it has. If you go to the next one. It has the new data dump. Okay, this is based on February 28th data. If there were any accounts that were missing in your original file, you can correct them then. I have transferred all of the decisions onto this, so you don't have to repeat it, but you do need to review it. Okay. If you expand this, you can't see the little plus above the screenshot, but you have all these new columns that are just information that people have requested that would help them continue to do their mapping. Okay. You will also notice over here the program description, cost code. We found out that there are several departments that want to go ahead and map over into cost code, and so we're giving you that ability to do that. If, like athletics, you can map the cost code, then it will be incorporated into this, and so you can do it. You can go to the next one. Included on this new strategy are going to be 3 tabs: department, program, and cost code, where you will list all the values for those 3 chart fields that you want to use when we go live. Okay? You'll recognize this file as the one that you sent Wendy on her department. I have simply taken the spreadsheet that you gave her, I have incorporated into this, so that now, in order to keep your departments up to date, you simply go to this one file and you add and you modify this. You don't have to go to multiple places to keep all these things together. All right? You'll have department. If you want to use a department at Go Live, it needs to be on this sheet. If you want to use a department on your mapping table, it needs to be on this sheet, because I'll be checking to see that all the mappings are including values that are on these tabs. You can go to the next one. Also onto this is as a tab for programs. All the programs that you intend to use at Go Live should be listed here. And this is pharmacies. I built this for them. If you have these sheets, you can send them to me, and again, I'll ask for that individually. But I can build this from what you give me on the original mapping table. However, it may be missing things that were not used in the mapping. So, again, this is where you will list all of your, in this case, it's programs that you intend to use at Go Live. If you'll also please note, you've got these 3 fields. This is optional. You don't have to use the wrong program description, but these 2 are required. And, you know, if nothing else, I'll take this and copy it into that truncate. But if you want to come up with a better short description, you should put that short description in there. That's good. Also, cost codes. This will be where you list the cost codes that you intend to use on July 1. Okay? When we go live. Same sort of thing, you list the cost code, short and medium description, responsible person. This will be used to update the configuration table, so it needs to be complete. Again, these 3 tabs, department, program, and cost code, are to be the complete list of everything you intend to use at July 1. Obviously, you don't know everything now, but I want you to get it out there, and then you keep it up to date as we get closer to go live. Everything that you use on your mapping table should be described in here, and that would be one of the things that I said. Are there any questions about that? I know that there's a lot going on here. We've had to change our strategy, but we've decided that a one-stop shopping for all the mapping and values is a better sort of style. So any questions? Yes?
Are you going to change deadline dates?
Am I gonna-
Deadline dates.
Deadline dates. Jim mentioned just yesterday, and he wanted all this stuff the day before yesterday. And no, I would like this to be done by tomorrow at 5, April 30th. Okay. Obviously, the sooner you get it to me, it takes me a long time to get through this stuff. I mean, I don't spend as much time as y'all spend on it, obviously, but I have to merge all this in and check it to try and get it to them by the date that they need it. So obviously, the sooner the better. I'll be working with you individually on it, so if you can tell me, work with me, because obviously I can't deal with everybody at the same time. So, I want to make sure that I have at least something for me to work on, and give you a little more time that I can talk. That's it.
So back on the original, where we're doing the mapping, start out with the program, do you have an old department number and a new department number field on there?
If you expand up, well, there's the old department right there.
Okay, and then you will have,
You'll have a place for the new department.
it's
Yes.
right there, right? So
right next to it.
yes, and so we can change that from
Oh,
what
that's
you
another
put in
thing.
there?
The file that you were delivered, will be delivered to you, will be completely live, okay? You can change anything. I don't want you to change everything, but we found out that sorting and filtering was difficult on locked cells, and so I'm just going to deliver it to you live. Where I would like you to change, values are on where it's marked PeopleSoft department, PeopleSoft class, PeopleSoft program. You can change those values. There will be instructions about changing state funds, because you are allowed to change the state fund based on the new state fund rationale that we have, dividing academic and health in 4 different funds. Again, that will be in the instructions. Okay. And yes, it's live. I would, everything can be changed, but I only want you to change the stuff that's involved in there.
And would you put map code on here?
Yes, we can. This is a screenshot, but the map code's there, the map code description's there, the responsible person, I think, is there. When you expand it, you hit that plus button, you'll see all the stuff dealing with the map code.
And so this probably impacts a lot of us. Have you decided who is responsible for updating the program codes for GLs, for yellow buckets that don't belong to them? So is it the yellow bucket owner that updates the SLs? Or is it the owner?
SL.
Do we need to not coordinate that with, say, the provost's office or the vice chancellor's office? I feel like, we have a methodology we want to use for program code, but our methodology may be different than what the provost office wants us to use for their professorships.
Okay. Great question.
Or the office wants us to use for the research council grants. Or, there are a lot of GLs where we're allocated a budget.
And these are not state funds and overhead, these are other
These are
professorships.
trust funds.
Trust funds, most of them. If it is the case that you have a trust fund SL where you,
Everybody probably has lots of them, and
Okay.
all the schools probably have lots of them, I guess.
is Wendy Andrews here from provost office?
And Who knows the research council, that's the other one, I think that's probably Art's office. Vice Chancellor Julian, yeah, research.
My guess is the two of you will have to coordinate that. You would have to inform the owner of the map code what you intend to do, so that they will have to give you, so that you're at least coordinated.
Is the map code department on the sheet?
Yes,
So the map code department as well,
yes.
who owns that GL?
The responsible person, yes, their department.
No, the map, so
The
the
map
map
code.
code is the general ledger?
Right.
That has a department number that goes with
Yes.
it, is that on here?
Yes,
Okay.
that was one of the things you asked for.
Yeah,
That's on
okay.
there. I think those are colored red. If we were able to expand this, you would see those columns, it would be marked in red as, you know, these are map code. This is map code information, not SL.
I don't know, it may be helpful for those central offices that do a lot of allocations to figure out what strategy they want. They don't want 12 schools calling them, I don't think, and having to have that conversation 12 times.
Okay.
It might be something we could add to the instructions for some of those major ones, for some of the major units that.
That makes sense. Yeah. When you take the notes. No. Well, then I'll just remember. Any other questions? Great questions, and we'll have to, where one side, or left hand's going to talk to the right hand, obviously, on some of these, and of course that goes on now, so we'll know you'll have to continue in the future, but that's a great point. Other questions? Any other questions? Everybody raise both their hands. Go ahead, raise them up, nice and high. Everybody raise them nice and high, all right? Take one of your hands, it doesn't matter which one, put it down on the side. Very good. I want to thank all of y'all for volunteering. The next little bit of homework, which is updating account descriptions. And we have got Steve Kinley, that man who has volunteered to head this up, because it's a huge job, to introduce to you and explain how we want campus to review the PeopleSoft. So, without further ado, here's Steve, and Ed's out here somewhere, so he can stand up. And thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am new to the project, and as part of my initiation, they're making me call Robert. Robert promised not to be too funny this morning. Rumor has it that he's going to retire the buckets, too.
A correct room.
Welcome to summer in Chapel Hill. I don't know, this maybe is a sign that July of 2013 is going to be here very soon. We're just skipping over seasons. But seriously, I want to point out Ed Mann. Besides Ed's regular full-time accounting duties with facility services, Ed has agreed to volunteer to help us out with the project PeopleSoft. I would encourage all of y'all, as Robert mentioned, to participate in this project. This product is for you. We want as much of your skin in this game as possible, particularly during implementation, and we welcome partnership. So Ed and I are going to co-moderate a project involving the new PeopleSoft account section of the chart field. And as you probably know, the new PeopleSoft account field is not the same as the old FRS account. In fact, it's really functionally equivalent to the FRS object code. We've changed it around a little bit. We've made it 6 digits. It used to be 4. We've trued up the ranges. We think it's a little bit more intelligent formatting. But there are a lot of these old object codes out there. There's approximately 1,700 of them. You may not know that because I think each area kind of deals with their own little group of object codes. But there are a lot of them out there. What we have found from feedback from y'all is that a lot of the descriptions may be a little outdated, maybe not as intuitive as you would like for them to be. A lot of these old objects we rarely use. Some of y'all have even expressed an interest in possibly creating some new objects or accounts. We refer to them as accounts now as we enter the PeopleSoft world. So we want your participation in cleaning this up, and this is very important, as Robert mentioned. I mean, an account is required on every transaction. This is for your benefit. We want your participation. And you can participate by doing this through the SharePoint website. And we're going to take just a couple minutes to just give you a real quick demo. There are some pretty good instructions in your takeaway document, but we're just going to give you a little 2-minute tutorial here just to get you started. Okay. Wanted to use my laptop because Deborah has some different permissions than I do. So what you're seeing here is probably your permissions. In the joint HR payroll and finance project section of SharePoint, if you'll scroll down to the bottom of the left-hand column under Campus PS Account Review under the list, we have put out every object code out there for you. There are approximately 1,700 of them. And I know that you don't want to scroll through every one. There is the ability to filter. You can even search. I think I would just recommend you getting out there and playing around a little bit with it. But again, you don't have to scroll through all of them if there's a particular one that you want to focus on. What we're asking you to do is to grab whatever particular object you're interested in. You want to just click on one? Sure, we'll just grab one. You have the ability to comment on each of these objects. We would ask that you work with the 2 text boxes, the description for editing with the long account and short account. Basically what we're asking you for is with PeopleSoft, we've got a lot more room as far as the description. In FRS, we had 20 characters to work with on description. We had to pinch a lot of these titles. We've got a little more to work with. We're just asking you if there are particular codes out there that you would like to redescribe, or possibly they can be culled if they're not used, or even if you want to add new ones. This is what we're asking you to do. Just go to the SharePoint website, pick a particular one, comment on it, just tell us what you're interested in. Another feature of this is that we can actually track discussion on it. So if I go in and make a comment that this particular description doesn't make sense, or I'd like to change it to blah, 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 someone else can go in and actually read that discussion, and they may say, no, I want it to read this instead. So you can actually get a little discussion board going. And I would just recommend to get in and peruse it and just get familiar with it. But we think it's a real good forum for you to participate in cleaning these up. Again, it's for you, and to get a little bit of discussion. Ed and I are basically just going to moderate the discussion. If there's anything that requires a decision, or we may want to get back with you one-on-one for a little more information. But again, the point of this is just to get you involved in helping us refine these objects for your needs. Yes, don't delete. Yeah, I think the name of the game is just work with the 2 text boxes there, and we're able to track all of your comments.
Even if you make a mistake, don't delete. Just put another entry in that says, ignore what I said previously, this is what I really meant.
We will go back and clean it up if you make a mistake or delete. We will clean it up for you. We'd like to have all this ready to go definitely by July 1st. I'd like to give you a couple months to work with it, but just give you a little bit of time frame there. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if you really want to dig down deep into it, we can do that during the question section. Yes.
Do you guys have an idea about or strategy about narrowing down the list of objects already? For example, the hiring plan, changing the travel code, or
Travel codes are not shrinkable for the state.
Okay. Well,
Just in general, we have a lot of codes.
It will talk after Martha leaves.
well, we do, and let me also add something else. If you scroll to the right, we have also put out the usage, just to give you an idea of how many transactions are hitting on these codes. If you go out there and look at a lot of these, I mean, they're nil or hardly anything. So that's also going to give us an idea of what may not need to be carried forward.
Can you tell us what PS account category is?
PS account category is the North Carolina accounting
Right.
system.
Right, they've been grouped by NCAS categories for reporting, because that's the way that the NCAS 701 and the local 701 look. That is, within the group professional services, if we want to add something in there, okay, I think we need another account. I suggest we do this. It's got to fit in the professional services category at this stage. Okay, so this is one of the decision things that Ed and Steve have to work with. When somebody wants to add something, they've got to make sure that it is in the proper NCAS category within account. Okay, otherwise we'll do the same thing that happened in FRS. Things get out of place. They're not in the right place. So that helps us keep it in the right place.
So that's how we report to the state. That category,
That's
so
a category.
we might have 20 object codes
Yeah.
/ accounts,
Yeah.
They may just have one.
and they have one.
You'll see on auxiliary sales there's probably 200 of our old objects that go to just one place, in CAS. Auxiliary sales. That's their the finest definition that they look at. Okay, it just gives you an idea of the category.
So back to the question about consolidation, if it's not a separate account category for the state, we don't necessarily need to have it as a separate account category on campus. That's something we've determined. Is that correct?
Where you see multiple auxiliary sales like that have the same NCAS classification, the only reason for having a finer local definition is for management here at the university. Okay,
So
that's the only-
travel probably has 20 account categories for the state, just like it does for us.
On the travel where they have very specific definitions, and we probably need to follow those.
So that we can't really consolidate if there's a category in PS account category, we can't necessarily get rid of our object code. Is that a good way to think about
It's a
it?
good way to think of it. At what level those categories are, for travel, where the state is very interested in it, it may actually have a separate set of little rules with it. There are, and we have to work within that, and that's one of the things that Steve and Ed will be doing, is moderating those types of meetings.
I think it's helpful to have that parameter, so we're not out there saying, get rid of these 20 travel
Yeah.
object codes, we don't want them. If there's a PS account category, we probably can't get rid of it.
Right. And how travel is grouped, I have not looked at it. Okay, so we may have a real broad category. So in that case, it's the broad category of NCAS travel. So I can't. I do know that a lot of the travel objects have very specific NCAS 6-digit numbers that they map to. Once you get to a 6-digit number in NCAS, then we almost have to maintain. There are plenty though that have exactly the same mapping. We didn't want to put the NCAS mapping out there because it was kind of confusing. So we did want to put that there just to give you at least broad categories. So as you go through travel, Ed and Steve will moderate how much we can delete out, if it's possible at all. Okay, that's what they are. They're the model. They will learn. Make sense? Any other questions?
Just show us an example of how to search or filter, if like
Okay.
say we wanted to find travel
Okay.
here, how would we do that?
All right, let's go to okay, I'm gonna,
Is this in some like numeric FRS order, or how does this actually,
it's in the, yes, the object code.
okay.
There are several ways you can, right here, the down arrow, you can click on,
There is already a category for it, okay? So you'll notice that there's a
Okay. So is that in revenue expense category, or is it alphabetical category?
category.
Just
You can
category.
change it to ascending order right there.
yeah, Tricia, if you just click on the arrow by each of the fields, you can either click go ascending or descending. You can also filter using this function if you want to. If you want to go down the list in that fashion. You can also use some wildcards. And I have not played with this too much, but let's give it a run here. Get a browse. And I think what we put here. Let's try.
Travel.
Yeah.
What's the,
Just travel,
Travel.
the word travel.
well, I think it, well, yeah. I think it's fine. Yeah, I type in travel and it will pull up those with travel. You can do it by, you can use wildcards. I could type in S31 asterisk asterisk and it's full of all.
So I have a question, are we having numerical characters as the lead now?
We don't,
No, the S is needed
Yeah.
for my purposes
Oh.
because we merge controls and objects together. And so the GL control, it looks like an object on the GL, actually called a control in FRS, uses the same number series as the FRS object on the subsidiary register. So when I merge those two files together, I wind up with a lot of duplicates. The only way to keep them separate is to note the source, either S or G. That's where that comes from. And it's not, we're going to have the 6-digit number in PeopleDoc. We got shown you the 6-digit number because it is, one, it's not recognizable to you, but it's not editable by you either. We're not going to be changing the values. We want you to look for a description. We want you to argue independently over removing objects that are needed anymore or can be consolidated. We want you to, where it's important, when we need more detail in granularity, to suggest these objects. If y'all are census experts on objects, you know, if we don't really know them that well, y'all do. And so we want as vigorous a discussion as we can get on this. And again, start with the ones that are really important for you, okay? And hopefully we'll cover all the bases.
yeah, we haven't really rolled out these canvas yet, but they are going to be lined up with, for example, your census, you're going to start with 5. That's it for the 1. I think you'll find that there will be a lot easier to locate.
The concept on this mechanism, the SharePoint list, if campus continues to, fill out the field of description, we can take this and build it back into an Excel file to be loaded up for configuration. We don't have to retype all the decisions that y'all have made. We like it. They discuss with some of them on one definition or a short definition, a long definition of a particular object. And then we can simply lift that back in without having too much effort on our part, all 1,700 lines back in, uploading the people file. Otherwise, we would have to read through all the emails and figure this out and type it on ourselves. We're trying to, have you actually editing the live file that will be used.
So Comcast has some pretty good descriptions. When I went out to the state website at one point, and I looked at the descriptions for their object codes and what you use for NCAS, they had some really good descriptions in comparison to what we have on campus, which is basically nothing. We're just kind of guessing. Is there a way to put those descriptions in here for the ones that are a one-to-one map so that we're not sort of making it up to, we're not starting from ground zero? Can't you pull those in to start with?
I guess I could get a table from EKF, what those descriptions are. When you go out and look at the website, you're looking at HTML and there's lots of different pages involved.
Right. You don't think they could give us a date?
They probably can. They have to talk to somebody overseas.
Because then we're not typing, as you said, and we have something that we're started instead of reinventing the wheel. They've already got some really good descriptions out there for some of them.
Right, where we map into a particular NKS description, and like you say, they have very particular descriptions. Whatever, even if we divide their one object into 10 of our accounts, each of those 10 accounts has to fit into their description. Otherwise, it needs to go somewhere else. That's part of the coordination issue.
That's why I think
Keeping it all together. I'll make a note to that. I mean, that's just something that's not in the
Anita did.
That's a good, now I can give you a lot more NCAS. We thought that it would be confusing.
Is the idea for those text boxes to become the descriptive term account?
Yes, by all means. That's
Like
the idea.
who's using it, why you're using it?
Yes, I mean, in the 256, you can, these latex gloves with no rubber gloves, and maybe you can have no gloves and hold it, and stuff like that. Only green gloves, pink gloves go on this other object, something like that. That 256 field is in the description. And then I think Sandy makes a good point. If we say jump from NCIS description out there, then you can maybe just set it to that particular object. But it needs to fit the NCIS description in that always. I wanted to go with NCIS objects, so I got to say.
Okay, so one more question. If we were going to recommend a new object or account number, how would we do that? I was looking, I don't know if I see necessarily instructions.
There is the ability to add a record, but I would recommend that if you're interested in adding one, why don't you send Ed and me an email, and we will add it there, because there's some stuff we need to do in the background, and then it'll show up. I think that's going to be the cleaner way to do it, is just email us your recommendation and we'll add it.
They have to go through that NCIS decision process of what is it that you want to add, where does it fit into the NCIS account listing, what range does that mean for our people's account, so that they place it in the proper place, and it doesn't get out of whack. If you place it, it's really easy to put it in the wrong place. Okay, and then it requires a license of some, and you don't want that.
It may be best if you want the email to go to the MOU, sending you one email from each area.
I think that makes sense. If you can coordinate this through your MOU lead, that would be very helpful to us and to you as well. We can demo this more in the question and answer session if you like. Just to
The
stay.
whole idea is the board is going to financial lead. We have many people trying to get out there who are actually using it.
I think it was Anita who told Steve that when he introduced me, he had to give me a promotion. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about foundations. We haven't talked a whole lot about that. And I'm actually not going to talk a whole lot about that today, but I just want to tell you what we do know and what our plans are this year. We talked about business unit. For the most part, if you are doing your normal university activity business, you are going to be using the UNC-DH business unit. But if you are doing business with your foundation, they'll start with the CH, and they'll be followed by 3 numbers that represent your area. I just looked at we'll get that complete list out. And So that is the way you'll designate, here's my foundation business, here's my UNC business. Business units, all the foundation will share the same chart fields as the university does. I mean, you know, it's easier for maintenance, and it makes sense because they're common. For example, account, old FRS object. There's no reason to create new tables when the foundations can access. And in these cases, you may not use all the values, but it is one maintenance, so it just makes it easier. And again, they're common among them. The processes will work the same, year-end closing, all that will work completely the same. I mean, it will be pretty much transparent to you. The only difference there is the indication of tagging your foundation with the business unit, CH, whatever. When we met with all the 28 MOUs, a lot of the financial leads we met with are also the financial person that is tasked with the foundation as well. But there are some cases where that is not the same person. So we do plan to talk to the people we've missed and just bring them up to date, talk about the chart field mapping and answer questions that are particularly related to foundation. So that's about all I have to share with you. Do you have any questions? Okay, well, I now get the fortune to present to you Vanessa Peoples. You know her as the Director of Financial Reporting, but we've also promoted Vanessa to Xena, Princess Warrior.
Hello. So, just so you know, if you decide to volunteer for this project, Robert gets to nickname you. And I think he also gets to punish you if you volunteer to help him with one of his presentations and you move your bucket. So today I'm here to actually talk to you about what we're planning to do for contracts and grants. But in order to, you could go ahead to the first one. In order to tell you where we're going, I need to tell you, kind of reiterate where we are now. So for those of you who work in research administration, you know we have our infamous Ramsey system, which is our centralized database that we use to track all of our research activity. So the good things about Ramsey's is that, you know, it contains your proposal and award information. It has workflow functionality, meaning we can route the proposals for approval. We use routing in our closeout process for the NOTR. Don't throw anything at me. And it is fully integrated with other pieces like Blue and that's used in OTD, and Urbis that's used for the IRB process. So it's also integrated into those systems, and those are the systems that other offices that help support the research enterprise use. So all of those are good things. So we will maintain Ramsey's in its existing functionality, right? So that's a good thing. However, when we decided that we were retiring, and this is the big we, retire FRS, we now have a problem because we in research administration land use FRS for our post-award financial accounting. And so we use it to track our expenditures, we use it to record attributes to help us know when we're supposed to bill and when reports are due and who's responsible for what. So you can go to the next slide. So this is where you have the confetti and the horns. We have decided to implement the PeopleSoft Grants Management Suite, and that's what we call it. It's a series of 5 modules that work together to allow us to manage research activity. So if you work with contracts and grants, you know nothing's easy, so that's why we get 5 modules to do this. So we'll talk through each of the modules and kind of how they interact. Let's go to the next.
So we have the grants module, which if you want to make a connection, the grants module sort of does a little of what Ramsey's does. It holds proposal information. It helps you record and track award information and data. So what we've planned to do is we're going to build an interface from Ramsey's into the grants management suite. That's what gets us into PeopleSoft. So we have an interface that consultant is working with our Office of Research Information Services group, ORIS, to build an interface that's going to bring Ramsey's information into the grants module. We have a contracts module, which kind of mirrors, I would say, the FRS screens, the 09 series of screens in FRS, which houses a lot of attributes. I mean, we've kind of customized FRS to hold that information to help us know when we're supposed to bill, and it also has some other, sponsor name, it has award amounts and all of that. The contracts is kind of synonymous with those screens in FRS. The projects is probably one of my favorite because it will house all transactions. If you are purchasing something or paying someone on a contract or grant, you're going to use a project ID. And that transaction is then going to live in the projects module in a large table called Project Resources. It's going to be great. As Jim says, you're going to love it, right? It's going to work, you're going to love it. We'll have a lot of reporting functionality. We'll give you reports so that you can pull information, transactional information out of there. The transactions will live in projects because it has a project ID on it, but it will also live in the general ledger. So it will be in both places. And also between the contracts module kind of is the conduit, right? And so it has some demographic information, and then when it's time for us to invoice or bill or do a letter of credit draw, it goes into the projects module, gets the transactions, and then helps us automate some of the processes that currently are very manual in our office in order to get the invoices out. Another good thing about the grants module is that it has an F&A process attached to it. So it will house the F&A rate. It'll let us know what the F&A rate is, and then it'll look at the transactions in the project module. And so we'll be able to run an F&A process if we choose to on a nightly basis. And so if we do that, then the F&A information will be in project resources. So that's what I mean when we're going to have the ability to have more information than we need now. And if we choose to do that nightly, then we could send a summary one-time journal at the end of the month to the general ledger to update the general ledger. And then billing and accounts receivable. When you talk about the grants management suite, it's because we need it. Here at UNC, we'll also be using billing and accounts receivable for non-contract and grant activities, but it really rounds out what it is we have to do. So the billing will help us with generating the invoice, doing our letter of credit draws, and then we'll send information to accounts receivable, so it'll allow us to track those receivables. We'll be able to give you better reporting, so you'll be able to know what we've invoiced for and whether or not we've received payment, which is a good thing, right? And then it'll facilitate payment application. So the benefits of implementing what we call the suite is the information that we currently track as attributes in FRS on those 09 screens are already in fields that PeopleSoft has available, right? But they're across the series of modules. And so we'll have to work through the best way to get you that information so you don't have to hunt and peck. We're going to try to resolve that through reporting so that you can have one report that brings all of the information together for you about your contract and grant. It'll eliminate manual processes. Sorry, but that's to our benefit. If you don't already know, our billing process is extremely manual, and so we have a staff that ends up moving data from one, a paper report into an Excel template. I'm embarrassed to say it, but happy that we are implementing this because we'll come of age. So it'll eliminate that manual process, but it will be a benefit to you because the system will help move the data through, and so we'll make sure that we're getting the invoices and things out in a timely manner. As I mentioned before, we'll have nightly updates for the FNA, and we'll be able to track personnel and non-personnel cost share, right? That's a great thing. Right now, I think we do pretty well with tracking personnel cost share in our current systems. It's the non-personnel piece that causes a problem. And so what we're going to try to do is, it's kind of like the unique combinations of a couple of chart fields. If you use a non-contracting grant fund on a transaction, but you put a project ID in, we're going to try to build some rules so the system says, aha, I know you're cost sharing this transaction, and it will record it, and you'll be able to report off of it. We're also working on better budgeting for cost share also. So now we're going to go back into kind of the chart fields, which I know a lot of these meetings have talked about cost share. So we've avoided project ID, but now I'm here, and so feel free to shoot things at me. So project ID, we've decided, has a length of 7 digits. We've also decided that there's some value in, I don't know if am I allowed to use smart numbering?
Yes.
Okay.
Sequential.
Sequential. There's some things they've told me I'm not allowed to say. So sequential numbering and the project ID, one, so that you know, so the first digit of the 7-digit project ID field will have a meaning. So it'll tell you if you're dealing with a federal project, indirect federal, state, industry. And so, you know, a person doing a transaction, if they know that, you know, Professor X has asked you to put a transaction through on their federal project, you know, you should know you shouldn't be using a project that starts with a 4. And so it'll have some logic. It'll help us because we'll also have ranges that will help us with reporting and other things. So with the project ID, OSR is doing this mapping. Okay, it's going to be a one-to-one mapping with the FRS SL account number to the project ID. Hopefully that's not a surprise or shock to anyone. So the example given is if your current number is 5-30398, that's what it will look like as a PeopleSoft project. We're also still trying to work out whether or not we need to have build in some room to let you know that it was a number that was converted. And Robert and I have talked about a couple of things, but that's a later presentation I'll tell you about. But for now, just know that that's kind of where we're going with the project ID. And then in the future, project IDs will be sequentially numbered. And so you get a new award and you need 2 projects. Because they're sequentially numbered, you know, we're going to assign the first number and it'll have meaning, and then your next 2 numbers should be sequential in order because of the way that the system is going to assign them. So the project ID is a key field for grants because it allows us to track expenditures related to award, and it allows us to invoice. So here's the key. If you want us to bill your transactions for contracts and grants, you have to have a project on it. If you don't have a project on that transaction, I'm not going to bill it. Not going to receive it in projects, not going to bill it. And so we'll work through some rules with the combination of the fund you're using and the project to see if we can help you. But that's kind of a key thing that you need to understand. In order for us to receive it and bill it, I can already, you know, pick up the phone, oh, you didn't bill my, you know, XYZ, and I say, oh, doesn't have a project on it. Not really sure how I knew that. But, I mean, it's just a key, and luckily we are one of the key owners of Project ID. Thomas keeps reminding me that we're the center of the universe, but I'm still waiting for that to happen. So hopefully you'll help me with that. And then, of course, tracking and recording cost share, and I talked about the unique combination of fund and Project ID. For fund code, we're still working through the fund code. We have been given a series, range of funds for contracts and grants, which is the 30,000 through 44,999. Fund code, of course, is 5 digits. Right now, the path we're going down is that projects will share a common fund code based on sponsor, right? And so I've given you an example. There's a many-to-one mapping that will need to happen. But if any of you are familiar with our larger map codes for NSF and NIH, yes, no, maybe so. Okay, So we kind of are doing this now in FRS. I'll use NSF for example. We have one map code for NSF. We call them our big map code. And then it's associated with multiple SLs, right, that represent multiple awards. And so we're looking to carry that philosophy into PeopleSoft, but on a grander scale. And so we're still working through that process. We'll be doing the mapping, and then I'll reach out to some of the folks on campus just to give you a look at how your projects look and how it looks with this new fund philosophy, to get your feedback, to see how that's going. Yes?
So right now we have, not for the NSF, but for some of the one-off kind of grants, like Mellon Foundation. Every one of our Mellon grants has a separate fund code right now. So that will be one fund code and multiple projects. And within Mellon, if it's multiple, right now it's one Mellon and there's potentially 5 SLs associated. That'll be done by sequential numbering, those 5 SLs for that one project.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. For converting information, there's no way that's going to happen because of the converting project ID, FRS, SL to project ID, we're not making those sequential. In the future, if you get a new Mellon and it has 5 SLs, then those should be sequentially numbered.
And how do we know that those 5 SLs, maybe I missed that, how
You
do we know
didn't.
that those 5 SLs that we have now go to one Mellon?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One is within the grants and the contracts module. It tells you have an award and what projects are associated with that award.
So there'll be 5 projects.
Right. But I've talked to Thomas about the potential for having a report where if you know whatever information you know, if you can put it in, it can come back and tell you what you know now. Like right now, you have, let's say you know the prime and you don't know what all the sub-accounts are. And so we're going to try to work through a report to get you to do that. The easy answer though, right now without doing that report, is that the award has projects that live underneath of it.
And the award we don't find in PeopleSoft, we find in Ramsey.
You'll be able to find in both.
Okay.
And you mentioned Ramsey's. Ramsey's has that functionality now. If you know something, you go into Ramsey's and it tells you the rest of the stuff. And so, we are fortunate that we're going to have lots of information now. It's just a matter of guiding to say where's the best place to go.
But the award is the chart field.
The award is not a chart field.
But there will be a module where we'll plug in the award and it'll tell us all the.
Right. So we have simplistic cycle, right? We have the proposal, we're working in Ramsey's, right? We get an award, we create the award, we're gonna feed that information into PeopleSoft, right? And then in the grants module of PeopleSoft, when you generate the award, it goes out and says, oh, yay, and populates all of this stuff, right? Populates all of this information, feeds it, and then you build upon that information. And so we'll have the information in different places. It's all a matter of where we're going to direct people to go and get it. We're going to make sure that the information's in sync. So regardless if you go to Ramsey's or if you go to PeopleSoft, you should get the same information. So that will be our responsibility to make sure that information is in sync.
You had mentioned your example of not having a project ID in there for you to know to bill. Whose responsibility is that going forward then? If an award a proposal is awarded, we get a fund number?
We'll tell you what the fund is, and we'll tell you what the projects are.
Oh, so you're assigning projects as well, so
Yeah.
that won't be an issue.
No, we'll do all of that and we'll tell you.
Okay.
And so, when I think about it, it's kind of like the fund authority that we send. So we're going to tell you, this is your award. We're going to give you the award number. We're going to tell you what fund to use, right? We're not going to just let you guess. We're going to tell you what fund to use, and we're going to tell you what your projects are. Okay. Yes?
It's clinical trial.
Other questions? Oh, the most important slide of all. So how can you help? Please, I am begging you. I am pleading, please, close out your accounts that have ended. We're working on reports right now that we're gonna deliver to you to let you know what you have that's been final reported to the sponsor and needs to be closed out. I am begging you, pleading with you to please look at these accounts and get them closed out. We have to get them closed out. So you will be hearing from me if you have problems and you need help, you don't know what you need to do to get something closed out, you can give me a call. Jennifer Gwaltney, raise your hand. You can give Jennifer a call. And we have some of our team, all three of our team leads. So Nancy Armstrong, Betty Williams, and Colleen Williams are our team leads in financial reporting. So any of us, please give us a call. We'll come out, we'll buy cookies.
Maybe you can raffle off Kevin's tickets.
I'll raffle off the tickets Kevin thought he had. Anything, but please, I am begging you, please, if you want to do anything right now, please look at your accounts and get them closed out, and I will be working on reports to send out so that you know which accounts we're concerned about. Questions? All right, I'm so happy Robert didn't throw anything at me. He promised to heckle me and he didn't. So, thank you. And now Don Heck will give an update on the project.
Thanks, Vanessa. I'm not going to call you by your nickname. So this will be quick. Kevin already gave the big information, which is that we are going live on July 1st, 2013. So he's doing this crazy countdown clock. So we're 470-something days from the blessed event. A lot of work to do yet. Couple just key things I'll mention about what went into that date. We are going to convert 2 years of historical FRS data into PeopleSoft. So that means starting, basically 8 months ago, that data from then on to the day we go live goes into PeopleSoft. The rest of the stuff will be available just to report on, but you'll have access to it. All the front end stuff goes live at the same time. So it's not like we're bringing up most of the modules and leaving the rest till later. Everything in phase 1 scope goes live on that date. And once we made the presentation to sponsors in February and said this is the go live date and they approved it, we can't make any changes to the scope of the project without their approval essentially. Something that's really smaller stuff, stakeholders can approve. We've made a provision for some minor changes that we know we'll probably run across. But that's essentially, how it works. We call it, scope control. And so if in the course of the project, you're in testing, you're even having discussions when you're doing your mapping, you're like, light bulb goes off and a new requirement pops in your head, or you think there's a problem with what we've already determined, definitely pushed into the BAs, pushed into the team. We'll have to evaluate whether it's something that's material and that needs to be considered for the go live. And if it does need to be considered, it'll eventually get looked at and reviewed at stakeholders and potentially sponsors to see if we need more money or we need to do something to accommodate it, or whether or not we can just kind of live with it for a short term and then deal with it after go live. So I appreciate that kind of feedback. Ignore the last 2 bullets. That was for sponsors, so I just reused the same slide. So this is what exactly what we presented to sponsors. It's not that readable in this presentation. Essentially, we took the project schedule and just made a chart of it. We have a real live project plan. That's hundreds and hundreds of lines. Figure that you probably don't want to see that. Well, it will be made available. This is just high level. You can see that the phases overlap. The main phases we presented at the town hall. Requirements is done, design is going on now, and development's going on now. They overlap quite a bit. Development includes configuration of PeopleSoft, which is 85% done right now by the consulting team you see here, with some help from the BAs. Includes the mapping work we talked about today, which is critical to a lot of the other work we have to do on the project, including testing, including conversions. Includes development for our modifications, kind of interfaces, the aforementioned conversions, all stuff we do need to have a complete product available for you folks next July. Even we start in this phase, we start doing training development. As we kind of know what the system's going to look like, we start looking at, how do we break up the training? How are we going to organize it in such a way to not just educate yourselves as early adopters, but the rest of campus that are impacted. And later to come are, testing phases with different types of testing. As we get further along in the project, I think we'll probably want to spend 10 or 15 minutes at one of these monthly meetings and kind of cover testing, kind of, what to expect when you might be engaged, types of testing we'd be doing at any one time. Because I think that's the first chance for you all to get in a lot of cases, get your hands right on the system and kind of see it. And I think that's good for you to see it sooner than later. You don't want to see it in April or May. You want to see it, this summer, this fall. Give yourself plenty of time to see it, understand it, and be able to be agents for change with your peers. So that's good. Lastly, on this slide, I'm only showing this. I showed it to sponsors to give you an idea of some of the scope of the work. We got the modifications, which are changes to the system. PeopleSoft delivered. We got interfaces. Some are permanent. We got 40-something of those. Temporary interfaces. Those are because HR is not going to go live at the same time. So for a short period of time, we need to send data to and fro from the old world to the new world and back. So that's a fun thing that we get to do. It's throwaway work, which I hate, but it's a necessary evil. I mean, the alternative was to go live with everything at the same time. It was viewed by some of us on the project team and at the sponsor level that the lesser of the two evils is to split them into 3 to 6 month separation. So we're hoping when we come up with the final date for the HR payroll project, it'll be within that 3 to 6 month separation window, so the pain for campus will be short, and the temporary interfaces will mitigate that pain by automating a lot of that data feed and translating the data from the new chart field string back to the old, and then taking the FRS data and translating it back to the new, automatically, hopefully. Hopefully, we haven't written all the programs yet. And if we go last slide, last 2 slides, this essentially, I did this for sponsors. We just summarized at the absolute highest level what the scope of the project was. These are all main modules. Vanessa covered a bunch of them just in her presentation. We're doing asset management, ePro purchasing, accounts payable, and general ledger with commitment control. Those are the other pieces. So these are the big building blocks in this. Is a lot of work. And we will be configuring, testing to make sure all that stuff works. A lot of you gave us feedback on requirements. We're going to trace every single one of those requirements through that are in our scope to make sure we know where they are, how they're tested, and who tested them, and make sure they passed. So long process, you have to go there. If we go to the last slide, we did mention some of the systems, financial integrator, just the major ones. There's many more. We mentioned Campus Solutions, HR Payroll. Obviously, these are PeopleSoft. Ramsey's, after mentioned by Vanessa earlier. Obviously, our data warehouse and ImageNow, which is an imaging system that we use that will very likely replace what we use UStar for in a lot of cases. So we're here to use that with Campus Solutions today. Last thing is we will be making available a final scope document that I'm sure is exciting bedtime reading that basically is very clear on what's in scope. So if you ever have a question, you can say, oh, I guess they're not doing that. We know what's in scope, but it's probably a couple-day administrative exercise from our project manager to get through and dot all his I's and cross all his T's, and I've given him about 5 other priorities that are more urgent than that. So I've asked him to get that done this month. So by the time we meet again, that'll be available in SharePoint. I'll draw that to your attention next time we meet. And we'll also do that with the project plan in case someone wants to print off a lengthy PDF. So any questions at all about the project update? I know this is probably the least exciting part of the morning meeting. Well, with that, I think I do want to thank you all for coming. As Kevin did, thank you all for your participation. You're all doing a great job. I think we're making great progress. Why don't we take a short break, and then I think these gentlemen and some of the core project team are here to answer any questions you have on Chartfield stuff, or if you want to get into the account description changes stuff, even ask Vanessa some questions on some of the things going on in the space in OSR and contract grants project.